Hey guys, Sean right here. Get my camera lined up here. Probably get my full backup system power set up here. Thought I'd share with you a good time. Hurricane Helene just came through, so I guess you can maybe use this video to start preparing next time. So this is sort of a for emergency backup power. This actually uses a inverter and generator with batteries, as to opposed to just a generator. There's advantages to that, which we'll get to in a moment here. So overall cost, and this took me a while to build. Didn't buy everything at once. It was altogether about $3,500. So kind of four major components to this build. Your inverter, the generator, batteries, and then I guess the fourth part is the battery charger and I guess all the wiring. So if you think about $1,000 for each of those major components, it's about what you're going to pay for. There's quite a bit of fluctuations in that. But first, let's go over the inverter. So probably the most misunderstood piece of equipment. Well, first of all, why run an inverter? Why not just run a generator? So if you look at your house, on average you're using about 2 kilowatts. Most homes use about 2 kilowatts per hour over the course of the day. So altogether about 48, 50 kilowatt hours per day. However, at some points in that time, you're only using like less than 1,000 watts or 1 kilowatt. Other times you're using way over 10,000, even up to 15,000 kilowatts or 15,000 watts. So to cover all that, if you're running just a generator, you'd have to have like a 15,000 watt generator. Otherwise, you'd oversurge your generator. It wouldn't handle the loads. With inverter, that kind of flattens everything out. You can run it off a 3,000 watt generator, and this can handle the surges while your generator is kind of in that 50 to 80% sweet spot of power. So if you have a smaller generator, you can use it for job sites, camping, that sort of thing. Let's see. Other advantages of having an inverter is sort of instant power. I can just click a few switches in here. I'm ready to power up. Whereas if I just had a generator, I'd have to power it up, check the fuel, hook everything up, take it outside. Takes a little bit longer. So in some cases for short outages, I can just run off the inverter with the batteries and won't even have to start the generator up. You also can run it at night off of just the inverter and the generator. Instead of the generator, you can just run off the inverter. Obviously, you can't run a generator indoors. So you're going to have it outside at night. And that way you don't have to worry about your generator walking away. You can bring your generator inside. So a little bit safer that way. And again, more uses for a smaller generator. You can use it for camping, job sites, and what have you. Inverters, a lot of different style ones. There's two major style, low frequency versus high frequency. Don't worry about the naming. All that means, low frequency is uses the transformers to power everything, whereas high frequency uses MOSFETs. The other one's 60 hertz. Again, don't worry about that low frequency versus high frequency. The low frequency, the advantage of the high frequency is they're generally cheaper per watt, and they're a little bit more efficient. The advantage to the low frequency is they have a much higher surge capability. This one is a low frequency. I have a water pump. Low frequency work better if you have a lot of motors, such as pumps, some pumps, that sort of thing. This one's rated at 6,000 watts. However, it can surge up to 18,000 watts for like 20 seconds and sustain like 12,000 watts for several minutes. Whereas the 6,000 watt high frequency at most can surge about 12,000 watts. And even then it's very short, like a second or two. So for my purposes, low frequency works a lot better. You're going to want a 240 volt split phase, that way you can run off all your stuff. And you want it fed, you can have it fed 48 volts, 24 volt, or 12 volt DC input. You're going to want 48 volt, that way you don't have to run such thick wiring. David Paz, POZ, real smart guy. Recommend his channel if you want to know more about inverters. Next thing is generator. Probably the first piece of equipment that you should buy. There's a lot of uses for generators beyond home backup. So that's probably the first thing. Before you have your whole backup power system hooked up, you can just run off the generator. It's something, you know, not ideal, but it works. You can use extension cables, not ideal again. You can do it the naughty way, which we won't get into, but you can check out my other video. Or you can do what's called an interlock kit. I'll show you that in a moment, and then run it directly to an outlet to your generator. And then later you can run the interlock kit to your inverter. Definitely want dual fuel. Gas didn't store very long, so you want to be able to run off of gas or propane. And if you're lucky enough to have natural gas, you want tri-fuel. Inverter style for clean power. Yeah, most generators now I think are the inverter style. It's just if you have to run something standalone on the generator, it's just it won't harm your more sensitive equipment. It's called inverter style. 240 volt preferred. I only got a 120 volt, but the 240 volts will give you max power into your EG4 charge inverter, which we'll get to in a moment. So for the generator, recommend the channel Johnny's Weekends. It's got a lot of good information on that. So next thing, batteries. All right, 48 volt system. If you're just using standard batteries, you're going to need 4 12 volt batteries. Otherwise, they do make like a wall mounted like one piece 48 volts. But yeah, you're going to want to make sure you have 4 12 volts in series. AGMs work just fine. All right, a lot of misinformation on AGM versus lithium iron phosphate, because that's the new hotness. So I recommend going to LDS Reliance on why AGMs aren't as bad as people say they are. For emergency backup, AGMs are totally just fine. They'll save you quite a bit of money. However, lithium iron phosphates are coming down in price, but AGMs are still quite a bit cheaper. But if you want to learn more about lithium iron phosphate batteries, Holotech TV. I actually got these batteries for free. Local military base said they were broken and I managed to get them fixed, so that saved me quite a bit of money. So you're going to have a way, you're going to need a way. Next thing is, I guess, a battery charger. You're going to need a way to charge all these batteries, and that's where this very critical piece of equipment comes in. This takes power from your generator and feeds your batteries. This one can output out to 5,000 watts if you have it hooked up to a 240 volt generator. If you have it hooked up to 120 volt generator, it's about half of that. So this can do, it draws up to, I think, about 26 amps from a 240 volt generator, which is like 6,000 watts, but then it puts out 5,000. There's a bit of a conversion loss there. And then if you're running from a 120 volt, it can draw up to 28 amps. So I don't know what that is, a little over 3,000 watts. And then you're getting about 2,500 watts output. So, but definitely far and above anything else on the market as far as battery chargers. Everything else is like 300 watt range. So you can do solar, but I wouldn't rely on it. Hurricane, obviously, that probably not going to get a lot of sunlight. So don't rely on solar. Rodney Hunt and projects with Everyday Dave, good places for that. So yeah, now I'm just going to go through our whole system, starting with the breaker box. First thing you're going to need to install is interlock kit, and you can have an electrician do that, recommended. I just did it on my own. If you do it on your own, make sure you go to City Hall and have an inspector check it. Costs like $100, but it needs to be done. So yeah, you have to install that. This prevents you from backfeeding into the system. So to get the right interlock kit, just you got to check your number on your panel box. A good website for that is called Jack of All Trades. Go to that website. It'll explain everything if you want to do it yourself. So yeah, From there, there's a punch out, and then there's wires going to the inverter here. Yes, this is conduit. You can put shielded wire in conduit. You just gotta have enough room. So this is fed to the inverter, or the inverter feeds to the panel, and then you're wiring your batteries power your inverter, DC, so DC to the inverter, and then AC out. And then what's powering your batteries, charging up your batteries, of course your inverter, your EG4 charge inverter, and then this is being powered by AC from your generator, and of course the generator is being powered by your propane or whatever fuel you have. So you're basically going from AC out to DC, and then back to AC. So there is some conversion losses there, but that's the way you got to kind of set it up. You might be able to understand this a little bit better. This diagram, this was in the corner of my garage, so it's a little bit bent up. But here is your panel. Here you got your interlock kit. All this wiring will be behind. So you got your neutral, you got your ground. This will both be bonded to the neutral ground bar. This is your bond point, okay? Remember that. So in this wire, you got 4 wires: ground, neutral, hot 1, hot 2. Hot 1, hot 2, neutral can all be should all be about 6 gauge. I have a 70 amp generator breaker that hooks up to the interlock kit, and but your ground can be 10 gauge. That can be a little bit thinner. So yep, mine's actually feeding from the bottom, but in this diagram I have it going from the top. So that's your AC out. You might have a neutral bond ground. You're going to leave that open off of your inverter because you only want one bond point, and that's going to be in your panel. So that is your AC output from your inverter, and then you're going to have your DC input. So yep, negative, and that's going to be in series: negative, positive, positive, negative, negative, positive, and so on all the way through. On the negative side, you're going to want to have a fuse or a breaker. I put a fuse in there. That's what this is right here. You're also going to want, I think it's called a stint, and that just shows readings of your power. And then you're also going to want a resistor. So you don't want all this power surging when you turn this on straight into your inverter. So you want to have a resistor, and this is sort of like a turn knob that kind of allows power to go through here. And then this is a resistor, so it doesn't surge. You'll still get a little spark. Hold on. And then you can tighten down your power. All right, and then I can't read it, but it says 50 volts on this here stint. All right. So going back to this diagram. So yeah, you got your DC feeding power to your inverter, and then you're going to have your charge inverter, real simple, feeding power into your batteries, just 2 wires, 1, 2, positive and negative. Negative just goes to the negative side, and positive goes all the way around to the last positive side. So, charge inverter hooks up to the generator. As you can see here, cable, that's the one I needed to do an adapter so I can hook it up to 120 volt. And then an extension cable, and then generator on through. And of course, propane or whatever fuel you're using. This is 6 gauge wire. I use 2 gauge wire for the DC. Probably could have gone a little bit bigger, but I think I'm fine on that. There's also the solar charge controller, which I'm not hooking up to solar right now. I got a solar charge controller over here, but I don't have anything powered to it. These just feed into the same DC input. Now, there's also AC input on most inverters. So I thought I could just hook up my generator directly to the AC input of the inverter and then skip all this battery charging stuff. Just charge directly to the inverter, which will charge your batteries. First of all, you need 240 volts to do that, if you're running a 240 volt inverter. Second of all, this is the #1 way of destroying your inverter. according to some of these manufacturers. In order to do that, you need to have a very powerful generator, like 15,000 watts, kind of defeats all the purpose. So I just do the DC, you get a little bit of efficiency loss, but I just do the DC charge inverter directly to the batteries, and that's the safest way to do that. So, two gauge wire all the way through. I think that's enough. I'm running real short wire, so on the chart probably recommends a little bit higher. 6 gauge for the AC wire. I think that's about it. Any questions? Hit me up below, and make sure to like the video, hit the bell, subscribe. Most importantly, share the video, especially people prone to power outages. I think this could help them. And see you next time.